Sometimes I wake up in the morning and think, I just can't believe it. It's like, after all those years of struggling and hard work, it's like, I don't know, it's just like dream time. It's easy to live, it's less expensive to live here. I don't have to work so hard. I don't have to, but I probably do. But my first guitar I built because I had been playing guitar since the age of about 14, and I'd had a couple of guitars that weren't very good, and I found myself in a position with no guitar when I was 18. So I thought, well, maybe I could build one. So anyway, I built this rather crude guitar. In those days, there was no internet, there was very little information available, and I just kind of made it up. But it worked. You could play tunes on it. So my first guitar was something I built simply that I wanted a guitar. But then after a couple of years, I thought, I need to settle down and do something. I like to be on my own a lot, and something I can do that occupies me. And I just enjoy the shaping of the wood, and I like meeting the musicians, and I love the finished objects. I like to play them, and each time I make a guitar, quite often it's like, oh, I'd love to keep this one. and of course they'll go, they have to, and anyway, there's another one to make. I enjoy it all, and it's the technical side is interesting, the aesthetic side is fascinating. When I'm carving, it just entrances me, and it's a bit like meditation. You're completely there, and there's nothing else, People say, oh, you're this amazing person who makes guitars for name stars and so on. It's like, well, so what? I also make them for, Joe Bloggs down in the corner, It's the same. For me, it's the same thing. It's quite exciting to see an instrument played on a big stage, I guess. Many years ago, I was working for John Paul Jones in Led Zeppelin, and they used to do an acoustic set in the middle of the show, and Jimmy would play an acoustic guitar, Bonzo played some bongos, and John had three instruments, a mandolin and a 6-string guitar and a 12-string guitar, and even during the same song he would swap them. And I was sitting there thinking, well, if you could stick them all together, it would be more practical, and also what an amazing bit of theatre. So I designed this thing. I built this triple neck instrument, and I showed it to him, and he went overboard for it. In fact, he said, you know what, he said, the most exciting thing about this is going to be Jimmy Page's face when he sees me walk on with it. There's a Portuguese musician, Peixe, Pedro Cardoso, who used to play in Ornatos Violeta, and he has one of my guitars, and we went to see him last year in Mortágua. He was playing with Frankie Chavez, and that was great. It was a really good show, lovely. So yeah, it gives me a thrill to hear them being played, and it thinks, well, it's worth it. What I'm doing is worth it, It's quite odd, really. Every time I make a guitar, the first moment when I string it, it always feels like a disappointment, because you just put the strings on and you bring them up to tension and tune them, and it's like, oh, that doesn't sound great. And then I'll go and think, oh, I'll make a cup of coffee and come back half an hour later, and already something's happened. Things bed in, they settle in, and oh yeah, I played a bit, and this is coming to life, and the next day even more. How do I choose the wood? Well, it's a kind of technical, aesthetic choice, if you like. I mean, you just get to know, you get a feel for, touch the wood and you hear it. I mean, you can touch it, you can see how. It's difficult for me here to go and personally choose the wood all the time because of distances. I mean, most of the wood that grows in Portugal, because the climate is so good here, stuff grows so fast that generally most of the woods that grow here are not suitable. This is olive roots, so that's Portuguese. I've got that from when we buy logs for the stove. Some of the woods I use for details, I can spend hours just going through all my little bits of offcuts and stuff. Oh, it's not quite what I've got in mind. And when I finally get the bit, it's like, yes, that's just perfect. And I think to myself, God, I've just wasted 2 hours. Making guitars it doesn't earn very much money. I mean, I sell guitars for quite a lot of money, but they take an awful lot of work. So there's not much profit in it. It was always really a struggle in England. I mean, for 50 years I just struggled financially. And I'd always actually thought of, when I get older, I want to move south, somewhere warm, and I just had olive trees in mind. It's a small village. I think there's about 100 houses. It's very comfortable for us here. I've been doing this for 50 years, and I'm known internationally. I mean, when I started, there were very few of us hand making guitars, so there wasn't really much competition, so I had a good start. All my work is export, really. I sold a guitar to Peixe the first year I was here, actually, but otherwise it's all been export. Debbie does a lot of sort of market things with her pots and little craft shows, and we've got a really nice group of friends. I mean, we don't mix too much socially with Portuguese people, partly because, well, like I said, we're vegetarian. That's quite a big issue here. And the language is difficult. I mean, we do know some really nice Portuguese people, particularly younger people, and they all speak English. But there are a lot of estrangeiros not too far around here, quite a tribe really of us, and we have good times together. We jam quite regularly, and often we do it in here. That's my favourite thing of all, actually, playing music with my friends.